Good afternoon YouTube and welcome back to the channel. This is just going to be a short one today folks. I've been messaged about engine overheating issues and what might be causing that and how potentially could we avoid it. Now, there could be a whole host of reasons why you might have a high temperature on the bike, but specifically I'm going to talk about one simple thing that you can check. I think it's something that's worth looking at before you start worrying about anything else, and that's the amount of free play that you've got in your clutch. So I guess the question is, how does clutch free play, or lack of rather, potentially lead to overheating in the engine? Well, let me just explain. It means that this is ever so slightly engaged, it's pulled forward, and that means if that is the case, then it means that the clutch itself is ever so slightly engaged. Now that means that eventually you'll start to burn that clutch, especially over longer distances, but more specifically it can lead to overheating problems because remember guys, this is a wet clutch. That means it sits in a bath of oil, so the oil that you're putting into this engine here is permanently being heated if that clutch is permanently engaged. So not only will it lead to potential issues with clutch slippage and stuff like that, it means that you can start to overheat your engine. Now that can run for quite some time like that before you realise that you've got a problem or that you've damaged your clutch. Now to check this, the gap there, you see this, without engaging the cable, without pulling the cable, should be somewhere between 2 and 4 millimeters. So again, that's clearly not an exact science. It's fairly easy to measure. You can measure how many millimeters it is, or you can pre-measure something and put it into that gap. Well, for example, you might take something like a small spanner, measure the width of that, and if that's maybe say 4 millimeters or something like that, and it fits neatly in the gap there, then essentially you're good to go. You might use something like a key, your Enfield keys maybe 2 millimeters, so you get that in there and there's still a little bit of wiggle room, then you're 3 to 4 millimeters pretty much. So that's what the Royal Enfield manual says, measure that gap, make sure it's somewhere 3-4 millimeters, something like that, But there's another way that you can check this. You see I've got a bit of wiggle there, that's without this cable engaging, If I push this out to its farthest point, we're talking about maybe 12 to 15 millimeters free play from this end. Now that translates, or should translate, to somewhere in the region of 3 to 4 millimeters at this end. So just another good way to double check that. So just to try and explain guys, what can happen is, see if there's too much free play, then that can lead to things like the bike cutting out when you're sitting at junctions and stuff like that. And I read a lot of that on forums, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's potentially that the clutch is not correctly adjusted. But at the other end of the scale guys, if there's not enough free play, then that means that this is potentially being pulled too tight in the housing, and that means that the clutch is almost semi-permanently engaged. That can lead to the clutch burning, and it can lead to the engine overheating. And guys, that's especially true when the bike is new. See that first 2,000-3,000 miles, this can lead to clutch problems, because remember, it's a brand new clutch with very little wear in it. It's a brand new cable that's had very little stretch, and if this is just ever so slightly tight, then it means that you're likely to have a problem with that. Now, in the comments below, you can ask me how I know that, and I'll happily explain how I ended up having issues with this not long after I rode it out the dealership. Now, if you want to go ahead and adjust the clutch, what you're looking for is a 12mm spanner. You can use 2 of them if you want. I'm just loosening this off by hand at the moment, just to show you that you can adjust this really quite simply. So just to overemphasize this guys, what I've done is I've adjusted this too far back in this direction, and what that does is it means that you've got far too much free play in the clutch there, so that means that I'm barely getting a bite on that clutch, which is going to lead to issues with changing gear. It might not be, or it probably won't be smooth at all, and you're absolutely going to run into issues of stalling the bike. If I over tighten in the opposite direction, it means that I have very little to no free play, But importantly, it's pulling the clutch. If you put this far enough, if you tighten this cable far enough in this direction, you'll start to engage the clutch. Yeah, and you absolutely don't want to do that. You'll end up burning the clutch. And more than likely you are. You'll also see that there's absolutely no, that's rock solid. There's no free play whatsoever in this clutch lever. If your clutch is set too tight in particular, you don't have enough free play there, then you will know about it. Yeah. At high speeds, you'll start to get that throttle lag, so you'll get that rev without the bike wanting to pull you forward. That means your clutch is slipping, and you'll feel the temperature difference coming up through that engine. So if you leave it and you ignore it, it's only going to get worse. Yeah, you'll start to feel that throttle lag through every single gear change. Yeah, that's when you know you've got a problem, because this is slipping, your engine's getting too hot, your clutch plates are burning, and it's doing a lot of damage to your bike. You really don't want that. It's a very simple job, but it's important to get it right. And this is something that we need to adjust and we need to check regularly, guys. We have a tendency to do these things, set it and forget it, and hope that the dealer, sorts it in 6,000 miles or whatever. But remember, clutch plates are always wearing. Cables are stretching over time, so we're continually having to make sure that we are, and these little bolts as well, they can move. Obviously I've been messing around with this cable here, so I'm just going to readjust it, make sure I'm happy with it, and I'm going to take the bike for a quick test ride. Yeah, just do all of those measurements one more time. If in doubt, check it again. Yeah, anyway, that's it for this one, guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below, maybe even hit that notification bell so you know the next time I upload a video to YouTube. I'll see you in the next one.